Now, before we begin this Backseat critique for Guardians of the Galaxy, this is the Avatar Decent Humour's first glimpse at Space Merle, how he appeared in the comics, so we can see her reaction. Now, audience, close your eyes just in case you see it in the screen. Space Merle.
Do you want to give the actual character's name in case they don't?
Yondu.
Yeah, I called him Space Merle because it's the guy from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Michael Rooker. He was also in Mallrats.
So he was?
See?
Huh, okay. Oh my god.
If only he looked like that. Just imagine if he dressed like that.
Oh my god.
I'm totally just going to be finding images of what these characters look like in the comic to make her just be all like, nah!
Oh my god. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, usually in these things, when I'm with someone else who knows, you know, as per usual, I'm the one who knows more about the source material than the others, but I am far from an expert in the Guardians. So,
I'm the one going in blind in this, and overall, I enjoyed it. It was highly amusing.
Yeah.
Especially the villain distraction at the end. The sheer look of utter confusion on Roman's face. She's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm in the middle of my evil monologue and you're having a seizure.
This,
what are you doing?
Yeah, because the spoiler-free, very quick version is, believe the fucking hype. I said this about Pacific Rim, this is, okay. Previously, Pacific Rim was my sort of benchmark for the most just joyously silly science fiction-y type film to go to see. This may well replace it.
Yeah. It has a talking, explosive making raccoon.
Yeah. It's got the lovely talking tree. Basically, okay, this is Star Wars if everyone was Han Solo.
Except Groot, who is Chewie.
If he was a tree and Han Solo.
We had this exact discussion on the taxi on the way home.
Yes.
My god.
It's James Gunn. I'm probably gonna tell a couple of stories about James Gunn, but he is really, really funny. The film is as well. There is nothing new in it. It's a space opera done by Marvel with Marvel characters. There's nothing groundbreaking or new in it, but then again, it's a semi-parody. It knows the tropes and it's playing with them. It's very, very ballsy in how they sort of did some stuff so imaginative in such a traditional storyline.
True. Which
I really, really loved. And okay, DC doesn't think the world can handle a Wonder Woman film. They're going to give her a cameo in Batman vs. Superman and maybe do it in the future. Then Marvel's running around pissing on their fucking head. You know, actually, I'm going to do a video whenever I get a copy of Winter Soldier, and it's going to be DC versus Marvel in films. And it's just going to be DC being Falcon and Marvel being Captain America. It's just on your left, on your left, on your left, on your left. You remember what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about, okay.
Yes.
This sounds like it should be a kidnapped crossover with Linkara.
Marvel just...
It sounds like he should be tied to a chair going, no!
They're just constantly lapping DC, and DC's like, we can't do a Wonder Woman film, it's too crazy, oh no, and then Marvel's like, yeah, got a fucking talking tree, and now we're gonna put, and you know, spoiler, we put Howard the fucking Duck in it, because we want to remind everyone of the existence of that 1980s bomb. We are that gutsy.
That... Voiced by Seth Green.
Yeah! In fact, there's a massive part of me that is upset that they didn't remake a replica of the original 1980s live-action Howard the Duck puppet, and use that instead. So then Marvel could be like, "Yeah, we're indicating that Howard the Duck in the 80s is set in the Marvel universe. Yeah, live with it." It's like, this is like Marvel is teabagging DC with their testicles that are obviously not literal. You know, they're basically shoving their testicles in DC's face, and DC is like...
Teabagging, dear. I think you're looking for the term teabagging.
That's what they're doing. She's like, yeah, well, we got a Batman movie, and then, we did a Superman film, but we're putting Batman in it, and...
Let's talk about a few of the background things and the collectors. In the collector's little den.
There
Did you
was-
notice there was one of the Dark Elves?
I did. There was at least one, yeah.
There was also one of the invaders from the original Avengers film.
I did. I heard there was one. I did not spot him.
I saw him.
Well, I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just saying I didn't spot him. I was looking out for him. I didn't spot him. Yes, you win. And there was the space dog.
Yeah.
That,
That wasn't the breed.
that's
they
a-
signed up.
No, it's a character. It's Cosmos the space dog. He's a Marvel character.
Oh, okay.
I don't know very much about him, so I can't say anything. But
There was also a guy there, and he looked like the Hunchback out of 300. He had the big long cape, and he had the big hunched back, and he did the really grotesque face, and he was only on the screen for like 30 seconds. I was like, no.
they totally should have just done some really insane background jokes there. You know, in the Avengers, they came very close to having Oscorp Tower in New York as a little nod to Amazing Spider-Man. It fell through because the tower hadn't been designed by the time Avengers was going out. I really wish they'd done something like just random, like in one shot in the background, you got Hugh Jackman in a leather jacket, just in like the collector's collection. Not clearly, he's not. You know, maybe he looks a bit like Wolverine, but Marvel's like, that's totally not Wolverine. And then it's, but everyone else is just like, ah. They could have done so many like in jokes.
So it's not Wolverine, it's Jean Valjean.
Could be. You know, there's just so many things they could do, or even like one of the boxes has like a blue police box type thing. Just random little jokes, because Cabin in the Woods. I don't think I've ever mentioned this to you, but in Cabin in the Woods,
Never saw it.
you never saw it. It's really good. They have like a collection of little cages for all these iconic horror monsters, and inside the things, you'll only ever see it in one or two really quick shots. But in a couple of these things, you have a tank, you have a witch, you have a smoker, you have a jockey. You have each of the ones from Left 4
He's talking about
Dead.
Left 4 Dead, by the way.
Yeah, you have the super ones from Left 4 Dead are in the film. The reason
Fair
for
enough.
that, because they were supposed to be a Cabin in the Woods Left 4 Dead, like DLC for Left 4 Dead. But they're there as references, and I think they could have done that in this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't and we didn't notice. I want to see the DVD about this.
We'd have to get the DVD and really have a good look at it.
Yeah, there'll be like a documentary. So
There will be. There will also be thousands of fan people poking it. This is the guy from this. This is the guy from that.
yeah, like in Thor 1, they had in Odin's... oh, God damn it.
I'm gonna have to go open the door for them, aren't I?
Probably.
Would you like to chat on while I run downstairs?
Okay. But in Odin's treasure room in Thor, they had a bunch of Marvel like things, like the Infinity Gauntlet, and they had the Eye of
Hang
Agamotto
on.
from Doctor Strange. You know, they had a bunch of things. So they'll probably have stuff like that. But okay, I will tell the James Gunn a Tromedance story while you're away, because you already know this. Okay, years ago, me, Omega, LC, Blockbuster Chick, we all went to Tromedance in New Jersey right after going to see the Avengers. Now, Omega hates the Avengers because she hates Captain America and she hates Thor.
Oh,
But-
yeah, I just threw my house keys at my friend who is 3 stories down.
Yeah. But so we went to Tromedance after seeing the Avengers, and Lloyd Kaufman did a big speech at the start because the Avengers had just come out in America, and he was talking about how the Avengers must fail, or the film must fail because the Marvel Cinematic Universe is like destroying originality in film. They're never going to make film. This is the exact quote. If this film succeeds, they will never make movies about real people again. And all this time while he's ranting and raving about this and how much he hates it, because Lloyd's heart's in the right place, but he's very, very loud. But while this is going on, James Gunn is standing beside him because they're good friends, and James Gunn was one of the guests. And he's there being all like,
Guilty face.
now,
Lloyd, calm down.
based on when this was, he was either, hi,
We're in the middle of doing a backseat critique of
of
Guardians
Guardians.
of the Galaxy.
What do you think?
It was fucking brilliant.
It was brilliant. Would you like to say hello to the internet?
This guy's minioned before.
This is the guy I just threw my keys at from 3 stories.
So, James,
Just narrowly missing.
Narrowly.
James Gunn. Okay, he was looking more and more uncomfortable. Now, based on the timing of this, either James Gunn had just been signed to do Guardians of the Galaxy, or he was in talks, or he was possibly he was involved somehow. So he was there having to listen to his best friend Lloyd in the middle of a big con talking about how much the Avengers must fail and the Marvel Universe sucks. And then James Gunn, he had to very, very quietly get the mic and be like, Lloyd, Joss Whedon's a good friend of mine, and he is not an enemy of independent film. You know, the Avengers, it's an original piece. They're trying to do something interesting in film, and I really don't want this to fail at all. Lloyd's just like, oh, rrr. And then of course, several years later, Lloyd is in Guardians of the Galaxy because he's best friends with James Gunn. That was hilarious. I got one more Trauma Dance James Gunn story.
I spotted him, but I was sitting looking at him going, wait, I know him.
Didn't I
Who
see
is
him?
he from? No, it's not Stan Lee. Wait, why have I got a really stupid song in my head? Oh god, it's Lloyd Kaufman.
It's like, no, you should have recognized him from the Maniac Nurses Find Ecstasy review.
It's alright, she just sits on the windowsill and comes back in.
You see, Hagan Reviews has a cast member in common with the Marvel Universe. This is brilliant. And if the rumoured appearance of Squirrel Girl happens, that makes my Emmanuel 5 review totally, you know, canon in the MCU.
Okay.
You go.
So overall, it's rather good. Quill tries to come off as this really smooth guy, but he's not, no chance. There are just a lot of subtle little comedy moments. For example, he goes to hand the orb, the Deus Ex Machina of the film, over to someone and drops it. He's to duck down and grab it and hold it up again.
It's not Deus Ex Machina. It's a...
MacGuffin.
Yeah, that's more accurate, yeah, but it's an Infinity Stone, Infinity Gem thing. It's going to be used by Thanos in Avengers 3.
Spoilers.
Well, yeah, it's pretty obvious what's going on. They're like, you know, oh, Thor, what's this in Thor? What's this in Captain America? Oh, look, it's the Tesseract. Oh, what's this in Thor 2? It's the Ether. They're all different colors. Oh, look, this one. We got a purple one now. Obviously, you know, we got, I think there's 6 Infinity Stones, so Marvel Phase... Are you sure? I thought there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there was one in the center. And there's 6? Okay, well, there's only 2 more to do in Phase 3 then, and then obviously Thanos is like, I got a fucking Infinity Gauntlet! Even though the Infinity Gauntlet had the gems in Thor 1. You can see it in one shot. It's in Odin's treasure room.
Well, there's nothing really to imply the timeline. This could be set before Thor.
This could, but Thor 2 is set after Thor.
Actually, no. The start of the film, it's 1988, and then it says 26 years later, which sticks it at 2014.
Yeah.
The Avengers, the attack on New York was 2012.
Something like that. So,
ish.
What I'm thinking is the Infinity Gauntlet is basically, it was built to contain the Infinity Stones, and it's going to be used for that, but they were separated from it because, you know, wielder of ultimate power, etc. They want to make sure that no one has the Infinity Gauntlet because it would, like, you know, let you crush worlds if you were the Mad Titan. Or a Grey Pape, as my beloved wife calls Thanos.
Do you know what he reminds me of every time I see him? You know those deep ridges they have on his chin? He reminds me of the mouth of Sauron. I swear to fuck, if you ever see the special edition where they're actually animating the mouth of Sauron, you have these deep slits all around. And we're oozing with blood, but they decided to remove that for ickiness reasons. And that's what he fucking looks like with those grooves.
And the mouth of Sauron, when they knew they wanted to do something weird with his mouth. But
yeah, they were going to put it sideways.
Yeah, they did all these sort of tests and stuff, but finally what they did was make it like
they decided that it
40% bigger than a normal mouth. But I always thought
you can't sit down, David. Yeah. He's just kind of hovering behind the camera and doing little hand signals.
Yeah, whether he agrees or not with what we're saying. But a
moment ago he was pushing the cat around the room on a wheeled chair.
But the character played by Alexis Denisov, who is Thanos' right-hand man in the Avengers and this, probably won't be in the future. He reminded me of the mouth of Sauron. He's like, I got no fucking face, I got a crazy mouth, and I'm being all like, you do not want to mess with my master. Oh, look, I'm dead.
But he was kind of asking for it. He really was. He was being such an impetuous little shit.
He did not expect, you know, he dealt with Loki, and Loki never broke his neck with, you know, with his mind hammer.
That was more because Loki...
That's because Loki didn't exactly have the power to psychically snap people's necks.
Actually, wait.
No,
Loki's staff in the Avengers, that's meant to be another Infinity Stone. So Loki
it
did.
Is?
Allegedly, yeah.
Isn't that just a section of the Tesseract?
No,
Well,
no,
that
they
was
didn't
what
have
they
the Tesseract at that point. The Tesseract, they got it later on. So it's separate.
Huh.
So,
No. Actually, if you go and watch the thing, in Avengers, the physicist, I can't remember his name, Harrison or something like that there,
yeah.
he does say the only thing they can fight with the Tesseract is itself, the only safeguard. And that's how the staff is able to do it, because it is actually implies there from it.
But he got the staff before he went to Earth.
Yes. But it means
But the
it's part
staff
of
was
it.
an ancient thing.
It's
Yeah,
part
So
of the
it could
Tesseract.
technically be part of the Tesseract.
Okay, it might be. I'm pretty sure Marvel Phase 3 will
We
mention
will
this
have to
somehow.
research this, and Czar will probably not put an edit on the video to state the difference.
No, there seems to... It's just one of these things that's a
Shout
little
at
bit
us
muddy.
in the
In the-
comments.
In Phase 3, we will either get the full amount of stones, in which case you guys are right, or we will get one less, in which case they'll be like, the scepter is a stone, we totally forgot to put it in another film, so that'll do. And so I will be proved right. But we will have to wait like 4 years.
Was the scepter destroyed, or is that in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s custody?
I think
It is
that
now
went...
in...
I think it was taken to Asgard, wasn't it?
Nope, that is now in the hands of
Oh, yes!
Oh, yes!
Thor Strucker!
Baron von Strucker. You see it at the very end of Winter Soldier.
He's totally
Kill
gonna...
Hydra.
He's gonna be all like, oh look, I'm gonna turn up at the start of Ultron, and then I'm gonna be like, quickly supplanted as the main villain by Ultron. It's like, if only they called the film Age of Strucker, I would have been fine.
Your accent is terrible.
I know. It's
Well, we'll stick him in another
usually.
film in between.
Well, that's also possible.
Because we did see Thanos at the end of Avengers, and we thought, oh, this is going to be the next big one. He's going to be in Avengers 2. No, he went to Ultron.
Yeah.
And you see him like...
Yeah, but they were open about that. They were like,
True.
they were gonna save out Thanos for Avengers 3.
Hmm.
So it's wonderful of them to have this like 15-year plan just to keep building and building up. It would be hilarious if Avengers 3 Thanos was actually really shit, just because of the amount of people annoyed. That would be hilarious. I don't want it to happen. That would just be funny.
I think that might destroy the franchise.
It might.
Yeah, but at
Marvel-
that stage,
the
how
Marvel-
many years have gone
They'll
past?
be too big to fail.
Iron Man was like 2005.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been 10 years and they've got a number of films out. Well,
Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah, they got Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man
Well, yeah,
2,
but the 90s was 20 years ago.
Thor, Captain
Doesn't that make you feel
America,
old?
Avengers,
Yeah, considering I was born in
6.
78.
6,
Wow.
and then another.
I keep forgetting you're a lot older than us.
Yeah, this is okay. This is I think the 11th Marvel film.
Done by Marvel Studios themselves, and that's not including
Mhm.
all the other ones
you know-
from...
Although although I'm going to be controversial here and say I consider Eric Bana's Hulk film to be set in the MCU.
Do
It's
you
got
s-
enough similarities.
Do you see the Walkman he had?
Hmm.
First off, that wasn't released until I think that model wasn't released until the early 90s, because I had one.
Oh no!
It is possible that it might have not just been released over here until the 90s.
Entirely possible.
Or you
Entirely
just got
possible.
an old model in the 90s.
Also
Plus,
possible.
when you got a good comic
But
book
I
movie,
had that model of Walkman for a while.
even if it is an
It
anachronism.
was that thick as well.
Well, we
Oh,
have
yeah, of course there was that.
even if it's an anachronism, we have the second good comic book movie this summer, which features an anachronistic Walkman of some sort, and having it be a couple of years out. That is better than X-Men: Days of Future Past, which had a Quicksilver having a Walkman 10 years early.
Oh yeah.
With the earphones, which didn't actually come into existence about 20 years early.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
so-
obviously he dabbled in time travel.
He went, I would believe that.
Yeah, just that they're borrowing from
It's
the DC
Superman
universe.
can do it.
Just that they're borrowing from DC instead of Marvel.
Sure, it
But
was.
then again, it is Fox. Tell me
If you
something.
think about it, like, wasn't there actually a law set up for the Flash on how he could technically time travel, but
Yes.
he could only go forward, he couldn't go back?
He's done both. There's actually even one of their things. There was actually an animated one, Flashpoint, in which actually the Flash actually does go
Yeah,
back
that
in time,
Flashpoint's what set up the New 52.
in which actually screws up essentially the universe.
Oh yeah, and
Because he
Bruce
was back
Wayne
to
gets
save them.
killed, and instead of his parents, and Bruce Wayne's dad becomes Batman, and Bruce Wayne's mum becomes the Joker.
Okay.
It's kind of like how it's to do with kind
It's
of like
an-
the butterfly effect,
It's like an Age of Apocalypse thing.
Yeah.
From X-Men.
Yeah,
except
let's get back to actually talking about Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's
The animation on Rocket is fantastic. I don't honestly see why Groot had to be entirely CG.
Yeah, they
It looks better, see. You can't really do a bodysuit like that.
I have seen makeup artists who went to prove them wrong and have actually made full Groot bodysuits, and they look amazing. They're on YouTube.
It was probably more that thing of bodysuit versus trying to make out that he is just instead of a guy in a suit. Versus
Maybe
a guy.
it was the growing stuff, because
Yeah.
every now and again he shapeshifts and grows, and it would probably be a lot easier to do that on a fully CG character than to add
It's-
it on to somebody who's
The
in a
trick,
restricted
the
bodysuit.
trick with that sort of thing is if you're going to use a mixture of practical and CGI, then unless you're incredibly skilled with not just camera making and you know with good CGI and good prosthetics, you got to actually you film things in a correct way to make sure they actually look similar, because under the correct lighting they'll look different. If you want to see a good example of someone who failed at this utterly, look at World War III and Aliens of London from Doctor Who 2005, Christopher Eccleston season, because they have. It's like the CGI guys and the prosthetics guys did not even meet up and discuss what they were doing because they are so fucking different. If you want an example of that done right, District 9, because the director had a background in CGI and filmmaking like that, so he made sure it looked good, and he did brilliantly.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's always going to be different. Rocket was good, that there, and the
A
guy's
lot
going
of
to kill me
subtle
because
humour.
I was supposed to be with him today. Did you see it?
Oh, you missed it.
And I missed it. However,
Did you see it yourself? later
since
on?
the net's going to know and still have to tell them, I seen it yesterday with my little sister,
Good.
Good.
which she loved and wants to go see again.
There was one
She's a
scene
10-year-old.
that I thought was absolutely glorious, was when they were in the prison and Rocket is laying out their escape plan.
Oh,
I'd seen, that was put online beforehand. I'd
And
seen it.
Groot just kind of turns round and walks over to the background and starts growing to grab stuff.
Your
And
man-
then, just as he's taking the wire out, Rocket says, "We have to make sure that this is done last."
Because they've set every alarm off him. Make sure we have to do this part last.
Boom!
Boom. Or we can just improvise.
It was like, hey, I got the leg. You actually got it? Holy shit, I don't even need it. I just wanted to see how funny it would be.
Yep.
It's the closest thing to a
I
Marvel
need that
film.
guy's eye. No, you don't need that guy's eye. Yeah, but I want that guy's eye.
It's the closest thing to a full-on Marvel comedy. Every Marvel film has comedic elements. This one goes full-on, which I'm fine with. I'd like to see a Marvel film which goes the opposite way. Thor: The Dark World in parts and Winter Soldier in parts have gone for a fairly serious, but I want to see a full-on serious Marvel film. 'Cause I want to see the spectrum.
Yeah. Problem is that
The 12-year-old behind me apparently found it absolutely hilarious that during the epic walk scene that Rocket grabbed his crotch and adjusted his suit.
or everybody yawning kind of thing as they're going down. Hello, my sister
The 12-year-old behind me thought that was fucking hilarious and couldn't stop giggling. It was like, oh, shut the fuck up. It wasn't that funny.
My 10-year-old sister loved the part where Drax just kind of does the interruption with a rocket to the face.
Oh yeah.
No one calls my friends that.
They really have something against the villains monologuing in this film. One goes to start, and she's about to go into this big ream, and suddenly rocket to the face. And there's a guy just standing there going, okay, let's go.
Yeah,
No,
that's my
no one
example.
insults my friends.
Like I said, this is it's full of regular tropes, and because of that, it can skewer them, and that's what he was doing, and that's wonderful.
So the main boss, he's in his big whole monologue on how everything is so unrighteous that he's going to smite and cleanse the world. And then
just stop.
suddenly dancing, it's like,
What are you doing?
what are you doing? He does actually say it in that voice too. It's just like utter confusion.
I gotta
He's like,
say,
dance with me.
it is absolutely wonderful to finally have another good heavy metal film.
Oh yeah.
This is the sort of story you would have actually had in heavy metal. Obviously, if it wasn't the animated heavy metal from the early 80s, it would have had more tits. But pretty much apart from that, this would not be out of place in Metal Erlant or whatever. It's that sort of universe. It's so imaginative space opera. It's Marvel does Firefly with less restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the costumes
Excellent.
did remind me slightly of Firefly, especially Space Marine.
Yeah.
His outfit was actually really cool.
The ship design actually slightly reminded me of it too because of the VL stuff, VTOL stuff.
The ships, I think they were inspired by Mobius, who did a lot of the design in the Heavy Metal comic, which the film was based on.
I don't know why. It was maybe the colour scheme that made me think of Hyperion out of Borderlands.
Oh, they killed Peter Serafinowicz! I was really sad. It's Peter Serafinowicz.
But it was a noble sacrifice. He got crushed.
But in the comic, I'm led to believe he is a character called Supernova, who's like a semi-villainous Nova, and it's like, but it's Peter Serafinowicz. I want him to play the Master, because before he let himself go a little bit, he was, really like 6'6", really muscular, and he was really good at being terrifying. Just look at him in there's some things he's.
See a few episodes of, you can find them.
Spaced and Shaun of the Dead and stuff. He's very good at being angry.
The Whitechapel series, Whitechapel from NTV, season 2, where it's about the Krays. He plays the detective who actually beats up one of his own guys in an office.
Yep. Serafinowicz is a brilliant actor, and he does the world's greatest Terry Wogan impersonation. I don't know why he does that, and he did the voice of Darth Maul.
Yep.
But having him in this, I saw one reviewer refer to him as Discount Alan Rickman. I'm like, dude, he's Peter fucking Serafinowicz.
I hate our doorbell. The one downstairs, the battery's dying at it, so it sounds sick. So it's like.
You got John C. Reilly as one of the other Nova guys, who I believe he's the guy who gives his powers to Richard Rider, who becomes the superhero Nova. It's basically like the Green Lantern type thing. They are the space police, but in the Green Lantern they're all like, hey, we have a bad film to our name, and these guys are like, we have a good film, we're just very derivative of you, and less imaginative. Because these guys are like, we're actual space police. These guys are like, we use our mind and rings to do shit.
Okay.
Well, they're the Nova Corps, Green Lantern Corps. They're basically the same idea, and Marvel borrowed it
No,
from Green Lantern.
it was your little miming of it that I found.
Which the camera can't actually. My arm was off the screen. I was miming having a power ring and going like that.
Yes.
But yeah, John C. Reilly, that was weird. Some of the casting takes you out of it a little bit just because it's so random. Like John C. Reilly, just seeing him turn up in a science fiction movie playing a space cop. And then you got Glenn Close, although I'm okay with Glenn Close being in it because, you had Robert Redford in Winter Soldier, you had Jenny Agutter. So it's like, I can accept that, it's just a little bit harder with him.
But it was well done. I enjoyed it. The sets were believable. The physics less so, but we'll forgive it that. The giant head that Nowhere was in.
One of the Celestials.
Yeah. Whenever I saw that, what jumped to my head was, what do you call it? The Human Reaper from Mass Effect. It was just like, fuck!
They had like these flashings of people using Infinity Gems and killing shit. And one of them, either it was a Jack Kirby character. Actually, it looked like one of the New Gods or something, but one of the guys, if he wasn't actually taken from a comic book and recreated perfectly, it's like someone just read a bunch of Jack Kirby stuff and was like, I'm gonna put this in a film! Yeah! So you got this giant thing with a really ornate armor with ridiculous headgear, killing shit. It's like, yep, Jack Kirby would be so happy. He lived to make that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Kirby was one of the artists in the 60s, along with Steve Ditko.
I know who Kirby is.
Unlike Steve Ditko. He's out of the big three, the triumvirate of the original Marvel setup, he's the one that's dead at this point.
Huh.
Yeah, he was the oldest of them. He's dead, but Ditko's still around, and so Stan Lee. Obviously Stan Lee's still around.
If not, then they're really using his corpse in inappropriate ways.
Well, given some of the shit Stan Lee pulled on other people, and, with using their sort of stuff inappropriately, I would be perfectly fine with that. Stan Lee is wonderfully amusing and interesting, but he severely fucked other people over.
I have no knowledge, so I'm not going to form an opinion. Anyway.
Basically, he was much better at writing contracts than the other guys, so he was credited as creating and doing all this stuff in the comics, while the other guys who did stuff were not credited. So everyone thought it was him, and that's one of the reasons why Steve Ditko left and never came back to Marvel. Steve Ditko, who... It took 40 years for him to get a credit as creator of Spider-Man, as one of the creators of Spider-Man. See, Stan Lee came to him with, I got an idea for a character called it was either the Spider-Man or the Human Spider or something. He's like,
it
I
was
want
probably the human spider.
I want a red suit, and he was like just a regular looking superhero suit. And Steve Ditko turned it into the iconic Spider-Man suit. It's a bit like it's a Bill Finger and Bob Kane type scenario. One guy gets all the credit and someone else gets no credit, and it's unfair.
Oh, okay. So, do we know who Quill's father is?
No. I imagine in the comics they might explain that. I don't know.
Fair enough. So, have you anything else you'd like to add on the actual film instead of segueing?
Well, I was going to tell the other James Gunn story.
Go on.
Excellent. Okay, at Trumpet Dance again, there with some of my friends, and you had one friend who shall remain nameless because they would rip my spine out. They love James Gunn films. They adore James Gunn films. They were so excited. They're like, holy shit, I get to meet James Gunn. This is so amazing. So they drank a lot of alcohol to get some Dutch courage up, and they unfortunately went beyond the level of Dutch courage and got Irish courage. And they went up to James Gunn, and they're like, they tried to say, I loved your movie Slither. Unfortunately, what came out was, I love your movie Crank. James Gunn did not direct Crank. He had nothing to do with Crank. So James Gunn sort of looked at him witheringly, and he just went, well, thank you so much. It's like, as it, you know, basically, he made what sounded like a pleasant thing, but he made it, he gave it the meaning of, I detest you, you little worm. And so my friend went away rather upset with himself and spent the rest of the weekend drinking and literally kicking himself.
This is not the story I thought it was, but...
And, of course, right after that, I was like, oh, James Gunn's here. I'll be like, oh, wow, if only you were here yesterday. I didn't know you were coming, and I got my copy of Romeo and Juliet signed by Lloyd Cupp, and I would have loved to have got it signed by you. Unfortunately, I can't. I just want to say I love your movie Super. You know, I look forward to your next film. I went, and then the other person, my friend, was just like, why couldn't you get tongue-tied? Oh, no.
I think I know who this was, but I will confirm after we turn off the recording. So I enjoyed it. It was wholly enjoyable. It was a relatively serious film with elements of comedy that just kind of randomly appeared.
No, it was relatively serious. That was absolutely drenched in comedy.
Alright then, drenched in comedy, fair enough. Dancing Groot, come on. That was rather good. Also, poor Rocket. He was so upset. And then he was all made better by head scratches.
So, what I don't understand is they're like, okay, we got this part of Groot which you can use to regrow it. Does this mean every single part of Groot can be sort of planted and grow into a new Groot? Maybe a species is one personality and they're all Groot. You know, like Babylon 5, we are all Kosh. That's how Vorlons are made. Anyway.
Well, he did say we are Groot.
Yeah. So, but what I was thinking was, on the ship, before they attacked stuff, Groot removed a part of his body and he put it into a thing. So what I was thinking, that was his insurance, because I knew Groot had the ability to regenerate after being pretty much killed, and then he could be replanted and grow again. That's from the comic. So I was thinking he was like, okay, I'm going to probably die, and then this will regrow, and I'll continue after I die, which would have been very clever. But then they're like, no, we don't need to do that. We just got Rocket picks up a random piece and plants it. It's like, it's a bit like a Chekhov's gun, where then it's a bit like they showed a Chekhov's gun partway through, and in the end they sort of just magically created a blaster to shoot someone rather than use the gun that was already shown. You were familiar with Chekhov's gun?
Yes, I am familiar with Chekhov's gun.
But it's like that, at least. But maybe I misunderstood something.
Fair enough. Well, Rocket did seem genuinely upset at the very end, so it's kind of like, did he know Groot was going to regrow from that? That was my thought. My thought was, does he know that's going to happen? Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have cried that much. He just seems, he was clutching this stick, and then whenever they're doing the whole, you saved us and we are eternally grateful, he's just standing there with this stick in a flower pot. And it's just like, my Groot. Mine.
Yeah, it's if
And then at
Rocket.
the very end of the film, when they're starting to fly off, he's sitting there with this flower pot between his legs, and then suddenly it gets a little nose and mouth and goes. And Rocket Ken looks at it and goes, as if he didn't know. So that means he thought he was carrying around the corpse of his friend.
Yeah, it does. It would have made more sense logically if Groot had planted this himself, because no one else knew he could do this.
Yeah.
Because if he knew they could do it, Rocket would probably still be upset because he knew that it was like a chance it wouldn't work. But
It's kind of like the bit when they first got on What's-His-Face's stupidly designed ship. It was like, when did you learn to do that? I'm pretty sure the answer is I am Groot.
I like that Kevin Bacon got name dropped because him and James Gunn are friends. Kevin Bacon was the villain in Super.
Here's the thing. Now, do you mind how they were saying the only way into Ronan's room was to disable the giant metal doors that had to be severed at the power source?
Mm-hmm.
Mind how that was a complete linchpin of their plan?
Yes. Good morning.
She blew a hole in the floor inside that secure room and jumped up into it.
But she also did that with the green thing.
Yeah, but that implies that they could have just all went there in the first place and just blew a hole in the floor.
Yep. Well, your floor is not going to be made from the special armored doors.
Then what was the point of the armored door?
Because people aren't going to... It's rude to blow up floors. It was nice to see Karen Gillan again, you know. Between this and Oculus, she's making good choices in films to be in. And
Also, can I point out that Ronan's plan to the immolation procedure was fucking stupid. They decided, at one stage, the Nova Corps, they have a giant space net holding the ship. So Ronan decides to tell all his pilots to dive bomb the city, which I think is very stupid. For one thing, the Nova Corps is too busy keeping them busy, so they could have just blanketed the city with guns, with fire. They would have been a lot more effective flying instead of dive bombing, because they did state the place was evacuated. Also, if it was evacuated, where the fuck did everybody come from at the end?
Well, they were obviously still evacuating. But they did look surprised to be under attack, which was a bit silly.
Yeah, also, they just signed a peace treaty with Ronan's race.
The Kree Empire.
Yeah, the Kree Empire. So that implies that they had been at war.
Mm-hmm.
Where is their anti-air defense?
Well, that's their capital.
Where is their anti-air defense?
They
If
don't...
this was a proper military planet, or if it was a civilian center, there should be anti-air guns everywhere. It's like that scene in bloody The Chronicles of Riddick 2, where just fire everywhere. There is anti-air guns, surface-to-air missiles in London. There really is. There are.
I saw that there were some put into buildings for the Olympics, which was just ridiculous.
No, there were extra ones brought out. There are actually permanent anti-aircraft and with guns and surface-to-air missiles. They are on top of buildings and they are protect Parliament. There are also ones hitting around Washington DC, New York City. There are ones around Paris and Prague.
If someone's going to destroy Parliament, they're not going to do it from something that will use just have anti-aircraft guns useful against them. I find on one level I find that to be ridiculous.
It is a precaution that is in quite a lot of major cities.
It's to make it look good and make people feel more secure than they are. I doubt it's actually helping very much. Most civilian centers, most of their army's going to be on different planets which are closer to the Kree rim, the edge of Kree space. These guys, their planet is far away from it.
Air defense! There should be air defense in this advanced society, whose air force can't pick up a giant fucking ship entering their atmosphere.
Why did they were creating this net for it, because they had to make sure that the ship didn't hit the planet, because if they did, then Ronan would be all like, I'm totally like a Ronin and I'm going to destroy everything. So they have this net, and it's on the side and the top and a part of the bottom. It's like, why not put it like the bottom and then kind of go upwards, rather than... It's like they're trying to make it go into a very low orbit by having it go sideways.
They were trying to entirely counteract the thrust.
Yeah, but they were doing it from the side and the top, which is not useful when you're trying to keep them away from the ground.
The ship wasn't the ship. The ship went that way. So the big broadside wasn't the side. That was actually the front of the ship.
No, there was parts of it where you could see they were from camera angles from here because you could see the city underneath, and there were ships around the top as well. And I'm like, why? Maybe it's a ring world, and actually they were from the bottom, and we were seeing the top part of the...
So yeah, they also didn't seem to notice the Reaver fleet until it was already in their airspace above the capital city.
Ravager fleet.
This pisses me off, and I've only just realised now
Space
that
Merle.
it pisses me off.
Space Merle.
Yeah, Space Merle.
He has powers.
And he plays the exact same character too. It is essentially Merle!
And his right-hand man is the director, is Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, who was the on-set actor for Rocket and for Thanos.
Cool.
He was like, I'm in a green screen set! Doo-doo-doo. I'm doing an anti-circus thing, but someone else is going to voice him. Oh, no one's going to give me credit.
Okay.
There was something else. There's lots of things to talk about in this one. Gamora was... I like Gamora. They toned down her crazy look on her face way too much, though. They should have made her look weirder.
But do you not realise she will not be seduced by Quill's pelvic power?
Yeah. And...
pelvic power, that was a phrase used. That was a thing.
Drax was wonderful. Drax, because of Batista's lack of acting ability, that really actually helped with Drax. Because Drax in this... he is basically like a low-functioning spectrum person, and the fact that he can't act, he's not very good at acting, it just means he's slightly more stilted, he's a bit confusing. He doesn't quite get things. It comes across like that. Sometimes not being good at acting helps an actor. Like, for instance, Quentin Tarantino in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
He is much more convincing as a crazy sex offender because he can't actually act. Watch that film again. Okay, oh yeah, if in a sequel, I demand Moondragon. Because, okay, in the comic book...
Explain Moondragon.
Moondragon is Drax's daughter. And she hates him. Well, usually.
Didn't they specify in this film that she's dead?
You see, in the comic, Drax is a human. You see, what happened is, in the comic, Drax and his family were killed by Thanos. And someone else decided to take the soul of the guy, and they put it into this indestructible body called Drax the Destroyer, and he gave them the mission, kill Thanos. And that's his backstory in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And he's green-skinned and everything, and various versions. The one I liked was the Infinity Watch version, where he basically had the mind of a child. But he's sort of, different versions of him have had different power levels and different looks and stuff. But in this one, he's an alien whose family has been destroyed. And they do specify daughter. But Moondragon, he thought Moondragon was dead too, his daughter. And then she turns out not to be. And she's like bald, and she had one of the Infinity Gems for a while. And she's just... Okay, Moondragon is a megalomaniac. She is incredibly arrogant. She's a hero, but she just truly believes that she should rule the universe because she would be better at it than anyone else. She's not evil, she's just really, really full of herself. And she's bald and she has like psychic powers, and I totally want Brienne of Tarth to play her in the film. Because Moondragon has to be the sort of, woman that she can be attractive, but she should not be conventionally attractive, and she should not be in any level sort of...
Should not be lithe.
You need to be able to get the feeling that she could break you in half with her mind or body. That's what you get from Moondragon. So I really want Moondragon in the sequel.
Cannot remember the name of the actress who plays Brienne of Tarth, but if you actually seen her at one of the
yeah, she's very femme in real life.
She's really pretty.
Mm-hmm. She is, but she's also very good at... if they don't get her, Tilda Swinton, but she's way too physically small, or Angelina Jolie, if she wasn't as famous, if she wasn't that famous, she would be a good choice because she's 6 foot tall, and she is good at portraying women who are physically imposing. But she's very, very famous, so she comes with baggage. So that's why I go to Brienne of Tarth.
That is true.
I'm going to totally remember things to say whenever we finish this.
Yeah, I don't even know how long we've been talking for.
Lots of time.
We should probably wrap it up.
45 minutes.
These things are getting way too long.
Good films generally don't have vlogs that are very long because we're like, this is good, can't think of anything.
We didn't really talk about the film. We talked about the...
Side things.
Yeah.
It was necessary.
Yeah. Totally go see it. It's hilarious. Rocket is awesome.
Nathan Fillion was in this. Nathan Fillion did the voice of the giant alien that Groot stuck his things up his nose.
Oh. Okay, that makes more sense.
I would not have recognized him if I did not know that he was voicing that character. Because he was heavily post-production modulated. And Seth Green did the voice of Howard the Duck. And my feeling is that the Howard the Duck cameo is just Marvel being all like, yeah! We could totally put a little post-credit thing where we usually put something important to set up the next film. We could do that, but instead we'll remind you of the 1980s bomb Howard the Duck, just because we can. DC, like...
Sounds like the Swarma scene.
Yeah, they're just like, we can do this.
We're gonna make people wait till after the credits to see shit!
To remind them of the absolutely terrible film. In fact, it's fairly trollish. I just really wish that they had gone the full go with this, and they had recreated the physical puppet for the Howard the Duck from the 80s, to therefore indicate that Howard the Duck, the film, took place in the MCU.
You already said this in this vlog.
Did I?
Yes.
I'm tired. Did I?
Yes. Yes, you did.
God damn it.
David was there, and so was Chi.
Oh, I was talking to David and Chi then. They were just eavesdropping. I'm tired.
I think you should go sleep now. Nah. So, with that, good night, everybody.
Howard the Duck!
Oh, fuck Howard the Duck. That was a terrible film.